So we're going to talk about your music, but we do want to debate some topics with you. And since you're both from Cali, we want to start by asking, do you feel like the West Coast does not get enough credit currently for their contributions to hip hop?
I definitely don't feel like that. I mean, look at Kendrick. Like, that's like probably the top rapper right now, and he from the West. So I feel like we getting our just. You know what I'm saying?
What I always say about the West Coast is that the West Coast maintains its identity through hip hop going through phases. Hip hop's gonna go through phases where this is the say this region or this sound is popular. The West Coast, they never compromise for anyone. So I always respected that about the West. But don't you guys look at like say like Atlanta, the surge of Atlanta, like just dominating everything, and of course New York took a step back. You ever looked at that like y'all got to keep up? No?
Nah, for sure. I mean, me as just been a solo artist in the game, for sure. I take notice to it. I would say I travel more to Atlanta than New York. You know, New York by way of just of when you hit a tour or something like that and do press. But Atlanta, I know more artists spend more time in Atlanta. You know, like you'll hear an artist that will be like, I'm in Atlanta for a month, you know, working on my album more so than being in New York. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I think that.
Why you think that though? Like why Atlanta? Is this the vibe?
Music,
I mean, I used to
music
live in Atlanta.
industry.
I used to live in Atlanta from like 07 to 09, and just I feel like it's the community of it. You know what I'm saying? All them niggas get in the studio, do songs together. You know what I'm saying? A lot of other places be kind of closed off, but I feel like in the A, it's just a real community.
Is that only in Atlanta? You're not the first artist to tell us that on this show, but why? We understand why in New York there's not that collaborative vibe, but why do you feel like it's so prominent in Atlanta?
I don't really know. I feel like maybe the vibe, you know what I'm saying? Like it's a strip club culture. It's just a different type of culture. So maybe just the vibe they on. Like
it just kind of includes everyone.
I
mean,
I think
everyone has said that. Everyone has said that, and I'm wondering why.
It might come from the streets too, not to cut you off a little bit, and just the hustle mentality of like, you know, in a community where it's like everybody doing bad, you know, you kind of like, I don't want to bring drug reference into it, but you know, you got to hustle with your people, you know, if y'all going to be something, you know, and I feel like the lack of maybe a structure, the industry is so dominant in LA, the real industry. The real industry is real dominant in New York City. Obviously, this is where mass media, you know, the word gets spread, so you got to come to New York to get stuff done. In Atlanta, it's more just like, we going to take this beat, and it's gonna make something happen. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna be the manager, you're gonna do that, and I feel like they represent that more so, like that we just gonna get it done type spirit, you know, and they've been winning in that. They've been winning in that in the era of rap I grew up in, you know, watching like Dame Dash and, you know, Cameron and just crews, you know, Irv Gotti and Russell Simmons, you know, that's kind of the things that Atlanta is doing. You know, with even like a Coach K, you know, somebody like that.
Coach K is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Brilliant.
They have people that are assuming those roles, you know, like seriously, you know, not just the artists and pushing themselves. Like they have people, you know, managers and people that's up on it and like, we're gonna lead this into this right direction, you know. I feel like in LA, obviously the best, you know, I have my own company, but I was a young dude up until now, you know, bubbling up and having my company, but I see the benefits of like a Top Dog, you know, going hand in hand with like a Schoolboy Q and a Kendrick and things like that, and being able to navigate them, you know, outside of just the recording process, you know what I'm saying? I feel like Atlanta probably has that for sure on lock.
You mentioned the strip club culture, right? Like, so in Atlanta, you realize Atlanta supports Atlanta heavy.
For sure.
That's been one of the critiques about New York. At one point, they were saying, you're not supporting New York enough. And I think the West Coast kind of has its own identity too, where I think when you're in, like, say, LA or you're in just Cali, period, you know you're there. You don't feel like you're somewhere else based on what you're hearing on the radio. Like, how much you think that contributes?
What you think?
I mean, again, it's the vibe. Just like Atlanta got a vibe, LA got a vibe, you know what I'm saying? And people like DJ Charisma on Real 92.3, you know what I'm saying, keeping it real LA, and certain DJs that's from out there, like the Leakers, like just really keeping it West, you gonna feel it.
Yeah. I think it's the artist's responsibility, though. I think the artist can't get too much caught up. I don't really know what the radio in New York City is playing right now, but I feel like if it's going to be any sound that, you know, the streets is going to push through to the mainstream, it's going to start from the street, you know, from the ground up, from the artist. So I don't know, like, what the artists in New York or, like, different areas are making, you know, to provide. You got to provide your DJs and your clubs with music that, you know, go with what you live in.
Going on,
you know what I'm saying? If you're not doing that, you can't really cry about nothing. You know what I'm saying? And say like, oh, y'all play too much of this or y'all play too much of that. It's like, okay, well, we put your song on, what's gonna happen? You know? And that's really what it come down to.
So like in terms of like the West Coast versus like Atlanta, y'all being from the West, y'all don't never look at it like, man, listen, we gonna have, and of course the West has had runs before.
Right.
They're the dominant like sound or force in music. Y'all ever look at Atlanta and be like, nah, man, like the West, we gonna have ours. Of course, there's Kendrick, right?
Yeah.
But being just nationally recognized, that's where the
like
culture's spreading from.
It's just all time, and it's a cycle. You know what I'm saying? Everything come back. So I feel like Atlanta. I mean, they always gonna be doing their shit. Everybody do their shit, but I feel like Cali is just it's a staple. Like even how just like. A certain artist could take a sound that might sound like, the beat might sound like it's some Atlanta shit, but like you said, we gonna flip it on some West Coast and make it feel still like, real West.
Is there any artists you guys can name from the West Coast you feel like are not getting enough love? Artists on the come up. We obviously know Kendrick and the YGs of the world, but...
I would say, who would you say?
I fuck with a lot of Bay artists like Young T.O., SOB, RBE, that whole clique. I fuck with a lot of people out there. TC 4800.
Yeah. RJ, that rock with Mustard.
I hear a lot about RJ.
You know what I'm saying? When you go to a club, you'll hear a lot of RJ.
Definitely.
You know
4 or 5 songs, for sure.
And it'll be like, mainstream artists, you won't hear their songs. Whoever, you know what I'm saying? But you'll hear like people like RJ, Neff the Pharaoh from the Bay. It's pretty dope. He rock with E40.
Yeah, I don't know if we have it as a top, but I would definitely like to get y'all like top 5 from the West, because a lot of times the conversations come up here about West Coast, and sometimes we feel uneducated about it because we ain't living it. So I ain't trying to get up top 5 and everybody like
currently or of all time type top 5.
I mean, it could be both, but definitely current, because
you guys have a top 5 off the top.
Yeah, because a lot of times those names don't get mentioned. Y'all mentioning names right now that never been said on the show.
I mean, it would be a lot of people that you would say like, I would have.
But
excluding myself, because I'm here,
excluding
excluding myself, I could give you the official top 5. It would be like Nip, Kendrick, YG, Schoolboy, and probably RJ. You know what I'm saying? Would be like the top 5 most, if you went from the beach to East LA, you know what I'm saying? People would know who all of those people are.
That's one.
You know what I mean? They would have a song from all of those people,
You got the same list?
Pretty much.
Same order?
That wouldn't be the order, but I'm
no
just
order.
saying,
These artists that I
top
fuck with, I know
5,
that's doing their shit and that's pushing they movement.
Yeah, I've heard so much about RJ. I'm waiting for him to make that national splash where people are recognizing him beyond just saying, oh yeah, that's the dude from the West.
Do you see that coming soon? What will it take for him to be recognized?
For RJ, I mean, he get down with Mustard, YG, he got the whole thing. I think it's just consistency. See, when we talk about Atlanta and things like that, and heavy shout out to Atlanta, because I love the creativity in the music. That's all we in it for, as artists, just to learn things in creativity. I feel like they're a lot more consistent than almost everybody. And and like you could look at it like this, like even if I have a good album for a good year, right, it'll be like, or anybody, they might have 14 songs. A nigga from Atlanta might have like 90 songs in the same year, though. Just keeping it real, though. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you pick out the hottest 3 out of the 90 and then judge it to somebody that put out 12-song album. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, come on, man, like for real. You know what I mean? So it's like sometimes everybody's not the same. Everybody's not gonna get to the Grammys and have like just that one album that's like deep as fuck. Some people gonna have to put out 100 songs and just the one song might make it to New York. You know what I'm saying? And that'll be enough. And it'll be like cool. It's like everybody gotta go a different route. You know what I mean? I say that. Gotta be more consistent on the West. The sound gotta be defined. In the eras, in any era where you dominate, it starts with the music, and the tracks. Regardless of how cool the rapper is or whatever he said, it starts with the feeling of the music. You know what I mean?
I'm gonna give a hot take right now. I just want to see if y'all agree. I believe, lyricism and its importance all over in the culture and all over in all regions, it's not as important as it used to be, like say 10 years ago. But I would say now, I feel like when I hear a West Coast artist, I feel like they constantly still push lyricism and lyrical shit. So I would probably say the West, in terms of focusing on lyrics, I would say the West right now is focusing still most on lyrics. Y'all agree with that?
And that's why I would never take offense to no argument about anything in music, first of all, because I feel like, well, if you gonna, fun songs, it's all cool, it's all funny games, but keep it real. In LA, we'll put the most songs out that if it came out a cappella, they would still get spins. You know what I'm saying? Our songs would still get played because we'll still say something in terms of the lyrics.
Yeah, so it's not just like the beat carrying.
It's not so much tied up into being popular or what's the sound or who produced it. Like you said, it might just be hard because it's like, damn, nigga really said some cool shit on there. And it had a dope beat or a vibe or whatever, you know what I mean? But we definitely, all those people I name will definitely get it in and like say something, life-changing on any given verse, that will inspire a kid, to think a little bit different. And that's most important with rap.
Definitely one thing I love with West Coast music, especially Bay Area music, is that bass line's still there, man. A lot of times music now, like, bass line, it's just like, let's go with other shit, but I definitely fuck with that because I'm Jamaican, I like hear bass line and music
grooves
like that.
and rhythms, melodies, all that.
That shit does something to you when you hear it. It's different.
I can see that. I can definitely see that.